Welcome back to another episode of the RNA podcast. I think this is episode 9, and we had Mike Cassala on today. JU baseball player, former JU baseball player, and it was a really cool podcast. We got to see Mike's perspective of the game, which is unique. It's just the Cassala way, and we learned a little bit about his experience in the Cape Cod League, and we talked a little bit about the sticky substance happening in baseball right now.
Yeah, it was one of those podcasts where, we really could talk forever if we wanted to. Mike's a guy that's always been really talkative and he had a lot of different unique perspectives on the game of baseball and, some of the experiences that he's had in his career. But go ahead and check it out. All right, Mike, we'll welcome on the podcast. We're happy to have you here. It's cool for us because, for both of us, you're the one that taught us how to play the game of baseball. And as you've gone through your great career, you've taught. Your family has taught a ton of people how to play the game. But it's cool for us because we have you on the podcast now to talk about baseball with us. But it's the person that pretty much taught us the game.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, so we'll get started here with JU. You guys had an interesting year. Started off the year 0-8. We're struggling a little bit, but turned it around. Ended up winning the conference championship and going to the NCAA tournament. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your guys' year.
It was dude. I'm telling you, we were bad at the beginning of the year. We were awful, and it wasn't just most times when you're on a team that's not doing very well, it's we can't pitch, we can't hit. We weren't doing anything right. So we'd have days where our starter go out there, give us a good outing, and then we get 3 hits, or we actually put up 8 runs, but then we get a bad start and the bullpen comes in and can't throw a strike, and then we play the close games. We can't run the bases very well. We're not doing the little things. So, I was actually talking to John about this earlier. We were kind of like thinking through the years, and my freshman year we went 2-0 in the tournament, but then every other year since that, obviously we lost in the championship. My sophomore year, junior year, went to the regional, whatever. But this year was more special because, to me at least, because not that we didn't think we had a good group, but when you're 0-8 and then you don't win the first month of the season, you're 1-13 in April. You're 0-13 in conference at one point. You don't expect – it just doesn't seem like a feasible thing to do what we did. And so a lot of it just had to – we had a lot of young guys that weren't obviously they weren't experienced, but we didn't – there's a special brand of baseball at JU that has been passed down throughout the years, and that's hard-nosed, aggressive, don't play to the scoreboard, play 0-0 type baseball, But when you're down 6-0 every game, it's hard to play 0-0 baseball. So as a whole, the crazy thing was, it wasn't like the pitching clicked, the hitting, everything clicked at once. And once we got the first few wins under our belt, we really started rolling. And then I've said to other people, you start coming to the park expecting to win, and then certain things happen. So over the course of my time at JU, we always expected to win. This is the first year that we had a losing record. It's the first year that not the first year that we've struggled, but for that long of a time period. But you got to really give credit to the coaching staff, because it's got to be a tough situation when you're bringing in players you believe are going to take you there, and then you get off to an awful start, and they could have thrown the towel in early, but they brought energy every day, and it rubbed off. And I think overall, it was just like, we're halfway through March and we're like 3-12 probably. And we're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and sweep the conference tournament and go to the regional in South Carolina. No one would have believed that. So it was a wild ride, but I'll never forget that.
Yeah, especially for you in your 6th year, you've had a lot of ups and downs in your career. You had Tommy John surgery, you came back, weren't really sure if you were going to play 2020 with COVID, and then come back and you guys actually get to the NCAA tournament and, ended up losing to Virginia, who is in the College World Series now, just, beat up on Tennessee, good SEC opponent. But for you guys, It's pretty crazy, wild ride for you too, because did you start the year hitting? It seemed to me as if you got put in the lineup kind of mid-year.
No, so I started the year throwing on Saturdays, and then so obviously I was a two-way player before Tommy John surgery, and then it was well known that within the program that after I got Tommy John surgery, I wasn't going to catch anymore, because I kind of had to choose between one or the other. And for me personally, I got some advice for some people that, look out for me, and said that going forward, like, my best chance was on the mound, all that. And but obviously I still wanted to hit. So we had talked about me DHing, if I earned it, all that. I didn't get any at bats last year. Now we did get shortened to 18 games in. And I didn't this fall. I was supposed to start getting at bats in the inter squads, but then I broke my finger in the weight room. So I actually had surgery in October. So I missed the whole fall throwing and hitting. And then we come back to school in the spring, and now all of a sudden the emphasis is me having to prove that I'm healthy on the mound with my finger and all this, catching up on the throwing. So I wasn't hitting in the spring. I was taking BP every day, but I wasn't hitting in games. And then I think it was my fourth start. A lot of people don't even know this. We were playing UCF, and I had just come off an outing at Florida where I had good velo and felt great. Probably the best stuff I had all year by far. And I come into the UCF start, velo's down, elbows not feeling good. For the first time since surgery, it didn't feel good. So the trainer comes out, everyone's asked me what's up. Of course, me lying like usual.
Yeah.
And I had to get an MRI. I thought I tore it again. So at that point, I'm like thinking, oh, this is it. It's over. I tore it again. That's another 2 years. What am I going to do? And I got the results. Luckily, it was some tendonitis and a bone swelling and a couple other things, which sounds kind of crazy when you say it out loud. But so because I was out for a couple weeks pitching, I had to kind of build back up. And I'd been in Coach Hayes' ear the whole spring, like, hey, let me hit. Because me and him are real close. And I said it in jest a couple times, but he knew I was serious. So we were playing Stetson. And on a Saturday, we had just lost on Friday. And I went in his office and I said, hey, let me help today. And he puts me in there. We didn't win. I think I was like 1 for 4. But then the next weekend rolls around. I've played 2 out of 3 games at Florida Gulf Coast. I think I was 4 for 7 in the doubleheader. And then after that, I never came out. And it's funny because I told him, I was like, hey, man, like, because it was like an ongoing joke we had, like, oh, you don't hit anymore, you're whatever. And I was like, well, Hazy, once you put me in there, man, you're not going to be able to get me out of there. So now we can just laugh about it. But no, what it did was it allowed me to play a part in kind of the resurgence of the team when I couldn't do it on the mound. And then what was cool was when I got back on the mound, eventually he let me just do it in the same game like I was in high school, which was a good. I took a lot of pride in doing both at the same time, and just my whole thing was, obviously I love to hit, I love to pitch, but if I could help on both sides of the ball, why not? Because we needed the help, and I was willing to do it. So.
Yeah, 100%. And you finished your career, hitting 351, which is, pretty remarkable, especially as a guy who's been on the mound and hitting, because you had to split your time hitting BP, also doing bullpen, stuff like that. So it obviously probably was a big help to JU coming back this year. And I saw you had a couple big time home runs in the conference tournament to put your team into a situation to win the game. So it's definitely a resurgence in the lineup. But so Mike, and as we're not really sure exactly, what are you looking forward to here in the future? Are you going to continue to play baseball? Or are you looking to, I know you got an MBA, so, what's your future looking like?
That's a question that I should have a straightforward answer for, but I don't. I don't know. I mean, obviously every kid that plays baseball wants to play Major League Baseball, every kid. But again, whether you're 18 years old, 24 years old, or 44 years old, someone tells you eventually you can't play anymore. So, I mean, the way that I reflect on my career is I don't, obviously, if someone calls me, I'm going to play. It's that simple. But I've had a few, just being transparent, I've had a few independent league opportunities. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go that route. Again, the draft is cut in half to 20 rounds. They've cut levels. Unfortunately for me, and I don't talk about this often, but the 2 years where it was my best shot to move on playing was my junior year, right before I had Tommy John surgery. And then last year that got cut short, things were going pretty well. Not only for me, but first of all, we were going to be a damn good team that year, but I was throwing the ball well and things looked like they were going to figure themselves out for me. And then of course that happened. So, I mean, two things that were kind of out of my control kind of ruined those opportunities. But I don't have, if it is over on the field, then I don't have any regrets. And that's something my dad always told me because you guys know my dad well. So he'd always be like, I had 377 and 86 and this and this. And we're always like, well, why didn't you get drafted? Why didn't you get drafted? And he's like, I don't have an answer for that, but I have no regrets because I gave it everything I had and I played as hard as I could every time. And what I did was what I was. I held nothing back, and I can say the same thing about me. I never took anything for granted on the field, and I've put as much time as anyone. And I came back from injuries and had to deal with all the COVID last year. And if I'm finishing as part of a team that was 16-32, but can call themselves champions, it's a pretty good feeling. But I don't know. But with all that being said, when I missed so much time playing and I was in the dugout just kind of watching, and it makes you think from a different perspective. So if you would have told me this 6 years ago going into college, that I'd have a little bit of my heart point me in the direction of coaching at that level, then I would have been like, no way, come on. But the more I think about it and what I've experienced, I have a lot of interest in doing that. And so if the right opportunity presented itself, I'd definitely jump on, because I can't see myself just going away from the game like that, at least not right now, because I feel like I still have a lot more that I want to give. And I don't know if I'm ready to let go of that lifestyle, just being at the field every day and trying to. Now it would be a unique perspective, but I think I would love it. So that's something I'm thinking about. And then obviously I do have an MBA, but I just haven't thought about that as much as I probably should have.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're given the option of, sitting in office, whether you want to be at the baseball field in your shorts, making money, that's definitely a better option. That's for sure. If you could live your life going to the baseball field every single day and, hitting ground balls to infielders, working with pitchers, and that's something that you've been doing for a long time. But like you said, when you were injured, you had the opportunity to do that. I'm sure you have a good relationship with some guys at JU and some places elsewhere in college baseball. So I'm sure that opportunity can present itself. But, I will say this, from as a child, I grew up around your family, and you guys, taught us how to play baseball. But you said, you live with no regrets based off your baseball career. I'm sure Steven could say the same thing. Going to your games as a kid, like, I really learned how to play the game with passion. That's something that you clearly do. In some of the big games you played in high school, or whether it was in college, you taught us, for me exactly, how to play the game with passion. Coming out there on the mound, you're fired up after you got a big out, and rightly so. So that's something that I definitely would say that I would agree with you, that there's no regrets. You've always played the game really hard, but also at the same time, even if it is over for you, I think that there's a lot of things to celebrate. Obviously, like you said, a conference champion, but you got to play, in the Cape Cod League, which is the best amateur baseball, that there is out there. And I'm sure, you've had some great experiences along the way, whether it was high school, college, all stuff like that. So that's definitely cool. But, like I said, you played in the Cape Cod League. How was your experience out there?
Well, the crazy thing is about Cape Cod League is, going into it, I was so and you know me, like, and my family, like, we love baseball more than anything. Like, I wake up, I'm still thinking about, even though the season's over, I'm still thinking about baseball right away, and it's just how I'm wired. But the crazy thing about Cape Cod, which is and this is a unique answer I'm about to give you, is that when I think back on that summer, uh, baseball is not even the first thing I think about, because the people I lived with, um, their names were Glenn and Becky, and at the time, Glenn was 59, Becky's a little younger than him, and their grandson lived with them named Miles. He was 6 at the time. So I went into it. I talked to them on the phone like once. They're huge Red Sox fans, so it was a unique relationship from the start. I get there, and he's got a picture of A-Rod slapping Bronson Arroyo's glove, like, signed on my bed, like, already giving me crap for that. So, but we, like, to this day, me and him talk at least 3 or 4 times a week. I visited him before. He's come down here twice. Like, I tell people all the time, like, that he's 63, or about to be 63. And I would tell you right now, he's one of my best friends in the world, which is a crazy thought, but it's like, people go to their host families, have good, bad experiences, but that was such a good experience up there. And they did way too much for us. They made us outstanding food every night, just came to all the home games, rooted for it, like, took us to place, like, they just did so much for us that it was so overwhelming and such a good experience that the first thought isn't even baseball. So that's the first way to answer that question. But the baseball up there is crazy. I mean, there's guys I played with. The guy I lived with, Kyle Isbell, is a big leaguer with the Royals already. So I played with Nico Horner, who was the first kid from the draft to make it to the big leagues with the Cubs. He played at Stanford. And then his buddy that was on our team, also from Stanford, who I've told people is probably the best guy I've ever caught in my life, Chris Bubich. He's a starting pitcher for the Royals. So, I mean, there's guys making their debuts all the time. Every time I look, another one made the big leagues. And but they're all good guys. And the cool part about the Cape is, or the benefit, I've only played in one summer league. And people complain about summer leagues because the bus travel and the late nights and bad food and all that. But we got food catered. Like I said, my host family went above and beyond, and we ate lobster multiple times a week. It was nuts. And we only had 25-minute bus ride every day to the games, slept in the same bed every night. Good crowds. Everyone loves baseball up there. Scouts everywhere. Great competition. I mean, it was a great summer. And I wish I could go back and do it again, because that was, besides the fact that my jersey said Red Sox on it, I would not change one thing about that summer. It was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the consensus that I hear from everybody when they talk about the Cape. I know plenty of people have been up there, and then they all love the baseball that's played up there. That's an interesting point you said too. The 25-minute bus rides. Me up here, NYCBL, I'm driving 2.5 hours almost every game, and it's getting home real late at night. And like you said, the food you're just eating on the bus. So that's definitely a cool part about the Cape, is not only is the baseball so good, but it's all right there, right by the beach in Massachusetts. But, as a
Yeah.
Yankees fan, I'm sure everybody you ran into was a Red Sox fan, which wasn't probably the best
Yeah.
experience for you, but I'm sure, it was fun.
No, we had some great back and forth, and that was 17. So what was that, the year the Astros won? So, yeah.
Judge
Yeah.
won MVP, but Altuve won MVP.
Yeah.
Mike, you mentioned playing with those guys that are playing professional ball now, and you're Cape Cod Week with them, competitive, obviously, catching them and stuff. Does that feed more of your passion towards baseball, knowing that you're just so close to that next level, that you're playing with these guys, you're living with these guys, and you're just getting a little jealous, like, hey, I want to be there too?
I mean, never jealous, but I mean, there's certain people you play with over your career that, and now obviously everyone in that league could pop off and be a big leaguer. That's why you're there. But like there's certain people you play with that you just, there's something, he's different than everyone else, you know? And the first person was someone I played with at JU my freshman year, Austin Hayes, obviously is the starting outfielder for the Orioles. Like that kid, the minute I saw him play, I knew something was different about that kid. He would do things that no one else did. I'm talking jumping over fences and on foul balls and coming out of nowhere, making catches, hitting home runs into the wind, dead center. Like that kid was just a freak. And we had lockers right next to each other. Great, one of the best guys ever too. But like him, and then I came back from the Cape and told all my teammates, I said, watch Nico Horner from Stanford this year. That kid's different. And those two guys right there, this is a pretty cool thing. Hayes was drafted in 2016. He was the first guy in the big leagues from the draft. Horner was drafted in 2018, first guy from the draft to the big league. So I saw two guys that made it first. And it is no surprise because those kids are just, and the good thing about those guys is they just play as hard as they possibly can. They're not like too cool for school. They're not, but no, I mean, the thing I've always said is it's great to be around people that are better than you. So when I'm in the Cape, obviously I wasn't hitting third. I wasn't starting games on the mound. I'm from JU. I'm not from where we got Stanford, FSU on my team, Vanderbilt. I'm not from one of those powerhouse schools. So I learned a lot from the people around me, and I could kind of see where some of them maybe did things a little differently than me, and I could pick up on it. We'd have talks in the bullpen about throwing certain pitches and stuff like that. And then, we did a lot of work behind the plate. Unfortunately, this is obviously before my catching days were over, but I learned a lot too. We had a great catching coach up there who's his name is Austin Knight. He's with the ECU now. So obviously he's a very good coach. And I wasn't the best catcher there. We had a kid named Cole Cottom who went to Kentucky and now he's with the Red Sox. So kind of I wasn't too proud of myself to not realize, hey, I can learn from these guys around me that are truly better than me. So, and I think that's a lot about growing up, and that's kind of what I try to tell the guys that were younger than me at JU. Like, hey man, like just because if you're not playing or you're struggling or something, why don't you copy someone else that's better than you? And then next thing you know, then you start playing a little better. So not always you're playing another team and someone's doing things very well. Instead of hating on them, why don't you copy them? It's free. You're allowed to do that. So that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Yeah, they always say that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that's for
Exactly.
you. Every kid that, goes to play college athletics, I think they realize that, that jump from high school to college baseball, any sport that is. And then the same thing for you, somebody that, playing at a mid-major, going to the Cape. I mean, you realize, hey, I'm no longer the best player on my team here. There's a ton of guys here that do it different than I do. But I'm sure it's a good thing because when you go back to school, you got to see what those guys did and how they handled themselves. You kind of carry that over, for you to how you're going to carry yourself in the future years.
Yeah, for sure. And then I also got to influence them a little bit too, though, because there are these schools where everyone's a top prospect. They kind of carry themselves in a big league way. And I got to show them a little bit of the mid-major, a little pissed off, rowdy energy, a little playing angry and not afraid to pop off a little bit if you need to. So, and we had a good time up there. Like I keep in touch with some of the guys still, and it was overall just a great experience, except for the one thing is it was me and there was a few of us that went up there, but it was like a common joke on our team, and this kind of like the culture we had is just a lot of back and forth. And they had there was two hats. There was one that everyone gets. It's this every year. It's like the military appreciation hat. It says Cape Cod League on it right here. And then I had one that was YD Red Sox, which was my team, and I would wear it a lot because it was a nice hat. But then every day you walk in the locker room, oh shit, you played in the Cape, dude. Like you're big time. So I remember we had the foul pole takeover that year, and I had the hat on. I walked in the locker room, and the guy that was running it, he's like, "Oh, you got a big Cape guy here, fucking all about himself." And that was just kind of like that's what I miss the most about the JU atmosphere is just constant. And, I love that. So they're just constant back and forth, and who can get up on this guy today and how far can we push this guy. And that's the mid-major mentality I'm talking about. You don't get that at a lot of schools where guys kind of stay in their own lane and worry about themselves. And how can I, they're on their own path, but we were always on one path. And that's the real cool thing about what we have at JU, and what me and the guys leaving now really hope stays the same. And we've talked to the guys, we got to maintain that kind of culture within the program, or else it's not going to be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
After you had your Tommy John surgery, did you kind of elevate, how you went about, that leadership and that one goal as a team, picking up other guys, you're not able to be on the field, but you're able to help in a lot of other ways?
Yeah. I mean, I was always like a high at the field, well, just in general, high energy person, and always like holding court and all that. So when I got hurt, obviously I was very upset that I couldn't play. Two, the timing was brutal for me individually, and we were a very good team that year, so I didn't get to play in the regional and all that. But I made sure that I tried my best to make sure that no one around me could tell that I was really bothered. And I just became dugout guy, honestly, which when you're playing every day and pitching and catching and doing everything, then you're not going to be a cheerleader in the dugout because you got stuff to worry about. When you're not playing every day, you got a lot of time to dick around dugouts. So that's what I became, that guy. And I said, I'll serve a purpose somehow. And I was probably driving coaches crazy and got several warnings from them. I'll kick you out of the dugout. But we had great times. And I think, well, to answer your question, yeah, for sure, making sure that it was a team first, because, well, first I couldn't make it about me at all. So it was about the team. And secondly, just like, I think I learned so much about just the way things should be, what adjustments I was going to make when I came back. I got eager to come back because I was learning from watching, and when you're playing, you can't watch as much. And I sat there and watched 104 baseball games in a row without doing anything in them. So I was really picking up things. And last year, like I said before, the COVID situation, I really was implementing what I wanted to. So I think if it wasn't for, all that stuff that happened, I definitely got better because of the whole Tommy John thing, which was a crazy thing in general, because I mean, I threw as much as anybody ever knew growing up and through high school, and then doing both positions in college. And I never had one arm problem, never was sore, could go out the next day and throw if I needed to. And just all of a sudden, one pitch, just like right away, I knew what it was, try to pitch through it. And it was a weird thing. I mean, I knew right away what it was. So, but obviously, like I just said earlier to Riley, like of course I didn't say anything because I didn't want to sit out. I was like, nah, I'm fine. Obviously I wasn't. So, but I wouldn't, like I said, though, I wouldn't change a thing. It all happened for a reason, and it made me better in multiple areas versus if everything would have gone smoothly.
Gotcha. All right, Mike. So a couple things here. We'll do a little, I guess, more fun ones here. So first of all, I want to get a College World Series prediction. Who do you think is going to win? You kind of have an inside perspective because you've played against some of the teams that are there. But the other one is that I want your opinion on what's going on with the sticky substance in the MLB right now. So those two things right here to wrap it up.
The prediction, although they didn't get the best start yesterday out of him, I don't think you can bet against the two guys on the mound for Vanderbilt. That's kind of a boring answer, but it's what it is. And then the sticky substance. I mean, here's my thing on it. If you felt a ball that you get brand new out of the package, it's like a little slick. So I don't see a problem with, having a little something or something to get a little extra feel for it. Now, maybe that's gone on before. I don't know. But what I'm saying is I do agree when you have a Rapsodo set up or TrackMan or any of that, and you're throwing a bullpen and you throw a slider and it spins 2,600, and then you go like this in the jar and you throw a slider and it's 2,700, and then you say, well, what if we mix these two together and you throw one and it's 2,900 spin rate? When it becomes a science experiment, then you've taken it too far.
Yeah,
I'll say that. Now they're banning. Now it's different in pro baseball because you throw one ball in the dirt, they throw the ball out.
mm-hmm.
So you're getting balls that aren't very worn, aren't very weathered. So I do believe they're slick. In college, it's not as frequent the balls are thrown out, especially for programs like us where we gotta go get the foul balls because a dozen of balls is $84, and God forbid we don't have all the balls back. That's another thing I'm talking about. But I don't see a problem with a little pine tar, a little sunscreen if you need it. I don't really see the issue there because when I hit, I have pine tar all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, when it's a science experiment, it's a little much. Like a lot of but this is a little off on a tangent, but the whole game's a science experiment now, which is way too much. I'm gonna keep it short there, but it's just way too much. Everything, it's too much.
I hate the shift nowadays. If players like DJ LeMay on the Yankees, I know you watch the Yankees. He hits a line drive up the middle, and it's a ground out. I think it's
yeah. But I mean, for guys like him, it's not. At least he's on the better side of it though, because he does use the whole field, so he doesn't get burned by it as much.
Yeah.
But it drives you nuts when you're watching the game. And now, obviously, I hit one home run. I hit 2 home runs my college career, so I never know what it's like to be this guy. But when you got a big lefty up and they have 4 infielders on the right side of the base, of second base, and he's just trying to hit it over everybody, and you're just yelling at the TV, dude, just hit it the other way, lay a bunt
down the third base line.
And then they're like, oh, well, I'd rather him slug 560 than hit a single because it's going to take 2 more hits to score him. He's slow anyways. Okay, well, I hate watching the strikeout, home run, walk, 3 true outcome style of baseball. I just can't. It's hard to watch. I get it. I get part of it, but it is hard to watch. It really is. And I'd rather watch a team full of LeMahieu's and Gio Urshela's than a bunch of guys going up there just swinging from their heels and not really playing really for their team. They're just going up there hacking. So, but that's what they get told to do. So it's not, you can't really blame the players, honestly. So
yeah, it's interesting because I think everybody's complaining about, because of sticky substance, strikeouts are up. And the way I see it is strikeouts are not up because of the sticky substance. I think it's up because we've got guys going up there just trying to, have their slugging percentage be, way higher than it needs to be. And they're not actually going up there to just try to, hit a single into right field. And because of that, strikeouts are going to be up because they're swinging out of their shoes every single, pitch, no matter what the count is. And maybe that's what it is in baseball.
And that's the important part. That's the last thing you said is good because, I mean, like I said, I don't claim to be some hitting guru, but me, when I'm hitting, I get 2 strikes. I'm going to shorten up. I don't want to strike out, but they go up there, they swing like it's 2-0 every pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the strikeouts originally went up. They started swinging up a little more, trying to get the ball in the air. The pitchers learned fast, stop throwing sinkers down, so they're getting under them. Started elevating fastballs. That's why the curveballs come back, because the slider was dominating baseball. Now you see a lot more curveballs. You're pitching off this tunnel up here, guys swinging underneath the ball, and you're getting strikeouts that way. And then once the pitchers really started dominating, then they got a little greedy, started getting a little sticky. And now it's easy for the hitters to blame that, but it's tough. I mean, it's a debate everyone's having. Like, are the pitchers that good that the hitters are striking out that much, or is it the lack of adjustments by the hitters? And obviously, velo's up, and we've all hit before. We know it's when someone's throwing 94 or someone's throwing 84. It's a big difference in there. But I personally would lean more on the side of, yes, the pitchers have gotten a lot better, but you can blame the lack of action on the hitters more than you can by how good the pitchers are. That's where I lean, and that would probably piss some people off, but it's my opinion. So that's what I think.
Sticky substance in Weird 12. Just call it his tongue. Riley, Riley's gonna pitch, and he goes like 5 or 6 times before.
And I'll tell you what was crazy about. Here's a random thing about that while we're out here just making our own statements, we had to get COVID tested twice a week, I think. Which, first of all, they were saying it takes 6 days to get in your system or whatever. We already had the thing. So first of all, that was a little much. And then in the beginning of the year, they're saying you can't go to your mouth on the mound, or the ball has to get thrown out. And then eventually it become like a balk.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing was, we all just tested negative. What does it matter if we're, I'm like, there's just so many. It was a weird year for stuff like that, because you could poke a hole in almost everything anyone said, contradicting statements. And yeah, I couldn't hear that and then not bring that up. So that was just ridiculous to me. Now I'm just being transparent with you guys. That was ridiculous. And no, for real. I mean, I'm talking like tested just, and the bigger schools had it worse. They had to get tested 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. And we had games get canceled, and we had a kid on our team, our third baseman, who had a great freshman year, had to sit out because of 2 conference series because of contact tracing. He tested negative, but because someone in his class had it, that was virtual. The class was virtual most of the time. He had gone to the class like a week prior, and his partner or somebody in the class where you had a mask on got tested positive. It was a mess. He had to miss the series. We got swept because that's what we did in the beginning of the year. And but I'm just saying, man, I could go on for, that's just drove me nuts.
The same I got quarantined 4 times up in Pennsylvania this year. I thought it was a little much. I was like, look, like, like in the state that I was in was a little bit more, liberal with their ways of doing things. So we were pretty much wearing a mask all year long out on the mound. So it was like, talk about licking your fingers. Like, we couldn't even touch our mouth.
You had to pitch with it like this.
So yeah, so I had to, we would all fall, we had to wear gaiters, and like we had to wear masks the entire time. And then during the spring, they were a little bit more relaxed with it. We could go out in games. We were allowed to wear no masks, but in practices we had to have it on at all times. It was ridiculous this year.
Even though you live with, you're with those guys every single day. Yeah, testing negative already. You still got to wear a mask, because I might not get it from you at my apartment, but at the field I might get it from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That was it. I'm glad we're done with all that. Let's move on. Let's get onward. Over. Never again.
Pretty wild experience this year with COVID-19 and college sports. That's for sure.
Yeah. Thank God we got it in though.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for telling your story.
Yeah, for sure, guys. I'll keep in touch with you and hopefully see y'all soon.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you.
Everything, man.
All right, boys.
I know that